Hello and welcome back to coverage here at Grand Prix Dallas Fort Worth. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Paulo, Vitor, Dominaria, and we're all set for two 11-2 players. Will Craddock versus Matt Nass, currently number 15 on the top 25 pro rankings, ready to battle it out for a spot in the top 8 here. There was a chance that these two could draw, but it looks like they looked at the standings and decided no.
Yeah, the problem is thought it wasn't safe. And when you are unsure, most people prefer to have their fate in their own hands and just play the game and see how that goes.
Yeah, of course, it does happen sometimes that the players take an intentional draw and one or both of them actually doesn't even make it.
It's not common.
It is very rare.
It certainly happens. Shahar's done it like 4 times already.
Oh, man, you're picking up this booth thing beautifully. Get the sidewinders in on Shahar. That is a veteran move, to say the least. Well, we've got an Arcanist on the battlefield. That is a wizard, and that means that the Journey Mage is going to be able to come down a turn sooner than normal here, turn 4, and send Matt Nass's entire board state packing.
Yeah, I'm surprised Matt Nass didn't block there.
Yeah, he played the Llanowar Envoy, but then decided not to block.
I don't know if he has a second color or a third color in his deck, and he is valuing the Envoy because it can, you know, filter green into whatever that third color is.
I know one way you can find out. Consult ye old deck lists.
Oh, well, or we can just look at the screen where his cast that green.
Actually, wait a minute. Yeah, now that I remember, Paulo, as well, I actually got a chance to thumb through this deck from Matt Nass. This was a couple hours ago, but I forgot. That was this draft. Yeah, he's splashing for a few red cards, actually. That is not the only one. He's also got a Shivan Fire in this deck, as well as, I think he has a Garna, perhaps? Yeah, Garna the Blood Flame as well.
Okay.
One of the interesting sub-stories we've got here as well is I was out by where the players are when we were off a couple of rounds ago, Paulo, and somebody came up and said, "Did you see what Sam Black just did?" I said, "No." I said, "Go look." And I walk up, and Sam Black is sitting there with a grip full of cards, trying to decide which ones he wants to play or discard or whatever. By the way, Eviscerate just took out Josu Vest, so that's a good step in the direction for Matt as he's kind of mowing down all the creatures now. He did need the red mana there, by the way, both times. So we answered that question pretty cleanly about the no blocks, didn't we, Paulo?
Yeah.
Anyway, Sam Black had
Lich's Mastery?
He had Lich's Mastery on the battlefield. In his main deck, he built his deck around it, and he had just resolved a kicked Krosan Druid to draw 10 cards.
That is pretty sweet.
Yeah, so that happened, and Matt Nass apparently heard about it or something because he's actually got one too, though it's in his sideboard. He's not main decking it, and he has been bringing it in out of the sideboard and thinks it might just be good in this deck.
Okay, does he have the Gain 10?
No, but he does have Windgrace Acolyte.
Okay.
And he says that works pretty well with it, too, because the mill is kind of like life gain, and the life gain's kind of like card draw. So it's a little weird, but it all works out favorably for you.
It has double synergy with it, yeah.
This is an interesting board state now, by the way, after the dust has settled on those 2 red removal spells from Matt Nass, as well as the Eldest Reborn.
Yeah, Matt Nass seems to be in a commanding position here.
Definitely. That Time of Ice does not seem to be doing much.
No, and the Eldest Reborn will probably get back Josephus, and then Matt Nass still has the Memorial to Folly if, you know, if he gets a good creature and that dies. So he's working with a lot of cards there, and Will has basically nothing.
Did Will take off on us too? He's gone?
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I don't see him there anymore.
Oh well, that's hooray! Matt Nass wins.
Yeah, he looks like he tapped in empty chair.
Yeah, Matt Nass has Garna in hand, too. So, had that Llanowar Envoy died,
wow,
then Matt Nass would have been able to cast a spell this game.
He would have had 3 spells in his hand just stranded until he could find some way to get red mana.
Yeah.
What's actually happening is that Will has stepped away from the table to ask a question of the judge.
Oh, wow. The Lich's Mastery is not even in play yet.
It's still in the sideboard for Nass. But it's not impossible that he brings it in out of the board. Again, he seems to have been pretty happy with it.
Yeah, he does. he does have 2 Talent Omnivores as well, which, if you have Saprolinks, each one that you sack, you draw 2 cards. Pretty good. Kind of fuels itself. You're going to draw into more Saprolinks. That seems to be it for life game, so not a lot of life game for him.
Will's back again, and look at this. In Bolus's clutches. So you can figure out what he was asking the judge. Do I get the creature? How does this all work when the 3rd chapter happens?
Okay.
But he's going to kind of turn the tables on Nass here.
Yeah, I mean, he controls the saga, right? He gets everything as if he had just played it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he probably just wanted to make sure that it didn't, this is a big play, right? This is a huge swing for Craddock. He's going to get a chance to make Matt discard next turn and then get a creature back from the graveyard. And remember, there is a Josuves in the yard, so we can get them back and perhaps start getting a clock going on Nass. But if there was some rule interaction that Will was unaware of and this backfired on him, boy, it wouldn't have been good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you weren't sure, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Right. And Matt Nass, all he can muster here is a pretty not super awesome Yavimaya Sapherd. Then also the Time of Ice is going to go to Chapter 3, which is going to return that Llanowar Envoy to hand for Matt Nass. But, geez, Coldwater Snapper, too, for Will. So back-to-back 6-drops, and he's now firmly in the lead.
Yeah, the shields are up now. Not many ways to get through that card.
Somehow Matt Nass has Memorial to Folly at the ready.
2 of them.
No creatures in the graveyard.
Yeah, I like getting the Sphinx instead of Josuves. Josuves is usually the better card for 5 manas.
Oh, he decided to get the Sphinx instead?
Yeah. I mean, the board is, effectively stopped. Matt Nass's creatures aren't good, but they can team up to take down Josuves. And Scrying 2 in a scenario where you're in this big top deck war is very relevant.
Well, this is an interesting play from Craddock. He is going to take down the Llanowar Envoy, but Matt might actually feel okay about it, as now he can use that Memorial to Folly for something.
Yeah, he's effectively, eviscerating the Memorial to Folly.
Yeah.
But he gets to attack with the Snapper, which he wouldn't be able to do if he hadn't done that. And with Matt Nass at 10 and he having a 3/4 flyer, it is relevant.
For sure.
He figures whatever Matt Nass plays and he eviscerates can always come back.
Yeah, that's going to happen anyway.
So you might as well just use it now. Where
I mean, the upside to it is it's a significant tempo play if Matt ends up stranding that mana and having to do this all over again. Though, as it stands, he's just going to replay the Envoy, play a land, and pass the turn back. But how is Matt going to come back?
Yeah, and now Matt cannot play Garna. We know there's a Garna in Matt Nass's hand that he could play if the Envoy was already in play, but since he needs 2 mana to get a red mana, he can't do that. So the mana is actually relevant. Yeah,
and now it's actually going to lose the ability thanks to Deep Freeze. That also clears the way for an attack here.
He's going to come back
from
again.
The Snapper. Yeah, we might just see that loop happen, but that's just not a way for Matt Nass to stabilize, even though, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, could also have blocks with the Separate to, bring back a creature with an actual enter the battlefield ability, but then he would be left with a no-4.
Oh, look
that's
at this.
The mountain.
He found the mountain.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty good for him if we see a big attack from Will, which we do.
Yeah, the downside here, of course, is that Cloud Reader Sphinx is a major issue. He could go for the double block on the Snapper, take 3 plus 2 down on the ground, go to 2.
Yeah, that gives him
and then get his creatures
turn.
back. Yeah, but he's got that 1-turn window to take down the flyer.
Yeah, or he could chump. Or he could just play the Garna before, use the Garna to block the Night of Malice.
That's interesting. Oh, no, is this a counterspell here from Craddock? No, he said, yep, that works.
Wow,
all right.
Single block?
That is an interesting block from Nass. It really doesn't solve this Snapper problem going long. Oh, no, he's reconsidering.
Okay, yeah, that single block seems very weird to me.
Yeah, and he must have noticed that too. Wow, so this actually worked out if Matt can find a removal spell.
Yeah,
he's going to have 2 turns to do so.
I like this play from Matt Nass. It's basically, do I want to trade my opponent's 2 creatures for my 2 creatures? Because he could have gotten his 2 creatures back.
Yeah.
But his opponent's creatures are just better.
Right, yeah, the answer is absolutely I do. This is also the more direct board-affecting play rather than taking the time to have to recast the creatures this turn where, if he does find a removal spell For the Cloud Reader Sphinx, either this turn or next, he could come back. Oh, look at this. It's Vicious Offering, though it does cost him his entire board. They are now evened up, and Will Craddock needs to find a threat. Does he have one?
Oh, that's
no.
a lot of mana that man has tapping.
Okay, Windgrace Acolyte is going to give him a bigger life buffer back up to 7. And a clock in the air, 4 turns. Will Craddock's got to find something. That doesn't count.
Something?
That really isn't. Oh, but there's another deep freeze from Craddock. And now we're once again in a stalemate. So who's going to find a threat first? Skittering Surveyor versus Vodalian Arcanist. That's the stare down that we've somehow ended up with this game.
A battle for the ages.
And it's land go again for Craddock. Wow, this has been a good game. Matt Ness trying to complete an unlikely comeback after him being ahead, and there's Dark Bargain.
That's a great one to
possibly
draw.
His best draw. Does he find a threat? Kind of. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's really good.
How about that?
Double Arcanist, not going to do anything against the Thallid Omnivore. Lots of food sitting on the battlefield for it as well. Oh, and there's even more. We're going to have to start seeing Chump Block sooner than later.
Yeah, right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Will could just take it, and Matt Naz might not go for it because he will lose his entire board.
But he would actually kill Craddock.
He would kill Craddock. Yeah, Craddock would just die if Matt Naz went for it.
But Matt said, sure. You take 5. You go to 6. Go. Matt, not in a huge hurry. Doesn't feel like taking on that massive risk.
Yeah, it feels like Matt Naz just got the win now.
It certainly does, because now he has real attacks. And in they come. You scared me.
Sorry.
Bless you. R.I.P. your ears, Chad. But yeah, this attack looks very good here from Matt Nass, and you see Craddock's in the tank.
Yeah, I believe Craddock has 2 lands in hand, so...
This has been a fun game. Matt Nass off to the quick start. Looked like he was in the driver's seat after that Eldest Reborn, but then Will Craddock stole it and really hammered him, playing 2 6-drops back-to-back. So Will's just going to force the issue with Vicious Offering. That does prompt Matt to say, well, if you're going to do that, I'm just going to sack it anyway. But Will says, I'm going to go ahead and block. And then he has to scoop up his permanents. Matt Nass wins a tough game 1 against Will Craddock. Whoa, that was a fun one. Real back and forth.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
Really, the key plays to me were the 2-turn sequence where Will Craddock played his In Bolus's Clutches and then also followed up with the Snapper. That was some 1-2 punch that's very difficult for Matt Nass to overcome. And then the really interesting choice that Matt had about how to handle that combat step when he had Garna.
Yeah, I think he did what was best. It ended up maybe not even necessarily working the best for him because he drew the removal spell immediately and then had to sack the Garna as opposed to, a Sepperling that he would have had.
Yeah.
But I think it was the right decision at the time. And in the end, it worked out.
It did.
Yeah, I think both players played pretty well. Will also didn't really have much of a choice, I think. In a spot like that, he has to attack. And I think getting this things instead of the Josephus was the correct decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, both players played well, and in the end, Matt Naz won.
Yeah, pretty crazy how that can happen. All of a sudden, you're dealing with a full-on stall out where neither player can attack, and they're both top decking.
Yeah, and then I think Matt at that point drew a little bit better. Will actually drew some spells, but they were all 1/3s.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he has. I don't know. At that point, he had a lot more gas in his deck either, because he had already cast a Sphinx, Joseph Ass, in Bolus Clutches. So it's possible he only had role players left in his deck at that point, or had very few actual important threats.
Right.
Whereas Matt Nass's 3-drop, the Deathlum Talent, is a lot more imposing in a board like that.
I wonder if Matt did bring in his enchantment, the Lich's Mastery that we were talking about at the top.
I don't think so.
Okay.
My guess is no. But he doesn't have that many ways to gain life. So if Will just kills Thallid Omnivore, then Lich's Mastery is not going to do much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got the Acolyte and the Omnivore. Not great. Ooh, but a slow start here for Nass. He's up a game, but not playing a third land this turn.
Yeah, that's a lot of 1/3s.
Nothing for Will Craddock, though, outside of divination thus far. So while Will isn't actually under any real pressure here, it's unlikely that these two creatures would be able to get the job done. He isn't doing a ton either. And there he is, land number 3 for Matt Nass. Yavimaya Sapherd. But Will feels like he needs to use Vicious Offering on the Sapherd.
Yeah, that never feels good.
No. He needs a creature here. Ooh.
Is that Gilded
How
Lotus?
about a Gilded Lotus and a Divination? I like how you play, Will. That is nice. Now, it didn't affect the board, so he's going to take at least 3 damage here, but he is so far ahead on mana, and he's already resolved 2 copies of Divination.
Yeah, you know, Matt Nass has 3 lands. Next turn, he'll have access to 9 mana. In 1 turn, he can kick Josephus.
Oh, man. Well, Matt is playing Yavimaya Sapherd, which is a lot like Josephus, just smaller.
Yeah, they're basically the same card.
That menace. Mini Josephus from now on. Cloud Reader Sphinx is the play for Craddock. He still has 3 mana available, plus another if he wants. And now he's really rocking and rolling. Still has cards in his hand, all that mana available. It's hard to see Matt Nass overcoming this with just 3 lands.
I mean, we don't know what is in Will Craddock's hand. You know, it might just be lands and cards that don't matter that much. In which case, Matt Nass is actually fine with it. But if there is something, if there is a Josephus, then the game is over because we know Will kept that card on top. And, you know, we'll see if that's a land. I'm expecting a Josephus land, but
let's see what he's got. 6 mana. Oh, Tatyova.
oh, but for green floating?
Yeah. Green floating, play an island, gain a life, draw a card. This could get out of hand very quickly. Wow, and Will has the Academy Journey Mage to kill a Saproling, it seems. Boy, he is way ahead now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if that Tatyova doesn't die, then... Because Matt Nass's only hope in a game where he has 3 lands facing 10 is that Will has no business and will just have, you know, lands for the rest of the game. But that Tatyova makes that impossible.
Right, it's impossible.
So, and given that it didn't die, I'm not liking Matt Nass's chances this game.
And there it is, Josephus with kicker, bringing an entire army with them.
Yep, suspend 1, win the game.
That's right. Suspend 1, win the game on the stack. Nothing like 20 power for 1 card.
That is a lot of power.
It's also all menace, by the way.
Yeah, that really is just adding insult to injury.
It is insanity. Do we even have that many? I mean, we know the number we need for these tokens.
Matt Nass.
Matt's great. Reppin' Fog.
He's going to make him get all the tokens and then concede?
Yes. No, he's going to make him attack. And that is what a Lich army looks like. In a can. Pass the turn back to you, Matt. What do you have?
Can Matt Nass have anything?
No,
I'm trying to think of things in the format that exist.
Not in his colors, right? Jund?
I don't believe so. I mean, even if he had Urza's Ruinous Blast, he can't cast it.
Right.
He doesn't have a legendary. So
I think we're probably done here. At least
he
for
could
game
play a
number 2.
land at the end of the turn with that Scout.
Yeah.
If he got it from Dark Bargain, so.
He actually did have a land in his hand there. Oh, and another one. He's missed a potential for an extra land, but it may not matter. Oh, man. And Matt's pump fakes are awesome. When he picks up his graveyard, I think, okay, no. He's still going. He does that with his land sometimes, too. He just wants to get him straightened out, but, boy. Matt is trying to find if there's any way out of this mess, but Joseph S. says, I doubt it.
Yeah, well, I doubt it too.
You too.
And, that Tachiova, not that easy to cast for, Will. He only has one Forest and a Gudo Lotus. No Skittering Surveyors. So
really?
as powerful of a card that is, yeah. It's not easy for him to cast it.
Yeah, it's risky biz if you're sitting in Will Craddock's seat, but boy, did it pay off for him there.
Oh, it's so powerful if you can cast it.
And like you said, you weren't even being hyperbolic when you said it's impossible for that point because Will simply must draw either lands or spells. You can't have.
Yeah, I guess he could draw.
none.
The Vodalian Arcanist every turn of the game, But yeah. So yeah, the combination of Will having Guild Lotus for acceleration and card drawing and Manas being stuck on 2 lands really didn't pan out for him.
And he was so far ahead. And the card that really carried Will were those 2 copies of Divination as well to make sure that, he hit all his land drops and he played Gilded Lotus. It's very easy to find yourself nearly out of gas at that point in the game. But if you've resolved 2 Divinations over the course of those turns, then you often will still have 4 or 5 cards. And that's exactly what happened to Craddock as he evens things up 1 game apiece here in Dallas. We're playing for a top 8 slot in round number 15. We're in MTG Red Zone. Marshall Sutcliffe, I'm joined by Paulo Vitor Damarosa, the Hall of Famer, and we're going to see if it's going to be Matt Nass or if it's going to be Will Craddock claiming that seat in the top 8. Right now, Matt's going to be on the play. And Will, wow, snap mulligan.
This format doesn't have a lot of mulligans. It's something that I found because since the format is low, people tend to keep more sketchy hands. You have more time to draw out of your mana problems, so people mulligan less.
Yeah, it's not even a keep in my book unless it's a sketchy hand. It's like cheating if it's not. And did Matt also think forever and take a mulligan?
He did, yeah. When you're thinking forever, it's like you know what you have to do.
Yeah, you're just coming to terms with it.
Yeah, like people say indecision is when you want something, but you know you're supposed to want something else. And it's the same kind of thing. You're like, okay, I know I should mulligan, but I don't really want to. But in the end, you just mulligan.
All right, well, we're on our way in game number 3.
Oh, is that a pass from Matt Nass?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that must be very frustrating.
Kept a 1-lander, bottom, nothing.
Yeah, but after you've already mulliganed, you keep on 1-lander with a Scry. That's fine most of the time. And it's pretty bad going out like that. He's still not out of it.
No, he's not. He has a Vicious Offering in his hand. And even though Will Craddock just played Josuves, Matt is going to need to string together an answer, but he actually may be able to do so, especially with a not super strong follow-up play here for Arcanist.
Matt needs a creature that he can then sacrifice at an offering. And then if Will doesn't have anything to follow it up with, then Matt could actually.
But it looks like Matt is moving to the discard phase yet again. Thallid. Omnivore hits the bin, and whoa, here we go. Will Craddock is now making a major move towards the top 8. He's got the Coldwater Snapper, and that has to just lock it up here, right? Another missed land drop for Nass. This one's done.
Sure. We could even see Imbolas' Glitch is targeting a land.
You can do that?
Yeah, you can.
That's awesome.
I've never seen it done.
No, me neither.
But you can.
Man, Nass has to use Vicious Offering just to survive. He does find his 3rd land, plays the Sap Herd. It's going to get killed. And we are done here. Matt Nass is facing down Lethal. And that's going to do it. Will Craddock is into the top 8. He's going to finish at 13-2. He knocks Matt Nass out of the tournament here on the very last round. A great run by Matt, but it will stop here. He's not going to be able to make it to the top 8 of this one. It's going to be Will Craddock who advances into the top 8. And while we had a really sweet game to kick things off, it fell a little shorter after that.
Yeah, I mean, Game 2 was still okay.
Yeah.
There was a fight. We saw Game 3 was just anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But Game 1 was good. Game 2 was medium.
Yeah, and that's what happens when we're bringing you this coverage live here from Dallas, and sometimes that's just the way it goes. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more right after this. Hello there. Welcome back to the booth here at Grand Prix Dallas Fort Worth. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and this is Paulo Vitor Dominaria. Thanks for coming along through the stretch here on MTG Red Zone. We are heading into the top 8. We've still got a few more matches to cover here in round number 15 as we fill in those seats. We just saw Will Craddock take that seat down in the feature match area, though. We got the next one coming. Let's head on down. All right, we've got Matt Stanky versus Robert Brown. 13-1 for Stanky. I actually think that Robert might be 12-2. I will double check that for you, though. I don't think that we have two 13-1s left in the field at this point.
Yeah, I don't.
Mathematically speaking, right?
I don't think so either.
Yeah. But at any rate, let's get underway here. We've got, what is that? Oh, a Keldon Overseer. Double Keldon Overseer. This could be over very quickly.
All right. So if it's not going to be a land, at least it's a blocker. Oh, never mind. He really should spread out his lands.
I agree.
It's impossible to know how many lands he has. He could just be tapping 2 lands to cast Juggernaut here.
I agree.
But
just for clarity's sake, right? That's just kind of something that you should do as a player.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he actually went the other way.
It's like he heard me. It's like, oh, yeah, you want to see what I can do.
Oh, man. And look at this. An absolute thrashing here by Robert Brown. He says, I don't care how many lands I have, you're dead.
Okay, so a lot of equipment for Matt Stanky. Well, and artifacts that don't really do anything.
Yeah, these are cards that don't affect the board on their own. And that is the recipe for another slow start. Yes, and by the way, that graphic is not correct. Robert Brown is 12-2. Now, we can't go back and change it now, but I do want to let you know that. And that makes this situation actually quite interesting because Stanky is 13-1. He's a lock. And with a loss here, he's still going to make it into the top 8. Where Brown, with a loss, will be eliminated from top 8 under most circumstances. Okay. So a lot on the line for Brown, not as much for Stanky.
Yeah, so I guess, keeping a 2-lander and not getting there stings a lot less when you're already locked for top 8.
That's right.
Unlike what happened with Matt Naz the previous round. But yeah, they're still playing for seeds, I believe.
Here comes Teferi, by the way. Hero of Dominaria.
That's a good card.
Yeah, is a nice one. So Teferi's going to draw a card and untap some lands here for Stanky. And this board state looks so much better if you're sitting in Matt Stanky's seat. Just facing down 1 power now. Before, on the other game, at this point, he was facing down 11.
Yeah.
I like this a little better if I'm sitting in Matt's seat. Robert Brown, on the other hand, is going for dub.
Ooh, yeah. I assume he had a plan of, casting Run Amok or something like that to finish the Teferi off.
Yeah, but the Trickster is going to really throw the wrench in the works here. He's just going to tap it pre-combat.
Yeah, so now Teferi or the Candle, either of them can just get rid of the Pegasus.
Right, and this is why you said that, right? This is why you said, I assume he had a plan, because Teferi simply deals with the Pegasus as long as his loyalty is high enough to do so.
Yes, and because the Candle is there.
1 mana away from the Candle, which is very scary.
Well, Teferi can just give you that mana, I believe, at the end of the turn.
Sure.
So that Pegasus was dead anyway.
Yeah, doesn't it untap lands, though? Doesn't Teferi say you can untap some lands? Let's take a look. Draw a card at the beginning of the next end step and untap 2 lands.
So can you not float mana?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you can, right? But it doesn't target, so it might be the first thing that happens at the beginning of the end step.
It is the first thing.
But it does go on the stack. So I assume it works. Yeah. The stat is still fairly new, but... Yeah, I think Robert had 2 copies of Fervent Strike in hand that he was planning on using to finish the Teferi off.
Well, Teferi's doing a good job of controlling this board. The other 2 cards aren't doing a whole lot at the moment. But we do see them now. Here's Relic Runner getting in with the equipment attached to it there.
Yeah, the 4 Barrels Blade pretty good normally. Not a whole lot of things to move it to. I guess there is the Dominaria. Why did that happen pre-combat? I guess there's no difference.
Well, the Aether Glider does end up taking down Teferi with the help of Fervent Strike.
Yeah, but Robert Brown is facing, 8 power, and his next creature is going to die to the ball to the candle.
Yeah, oh, and boy, here's another one, too. So Robert, things not going nearly as well for him, and he's really he's kind of a victim of his own strategy there with cards like Run Amok in his hand when he's that far behind there, effectively blanks.
Yeah, this type of card, they're really good if you're ahead. Cards like Juggernaut and Run Amok and things like that, but if you're behind, they don't really do anything.
Yeah, that is part of the risk that you take when you put them into your deck. It's also part of the reason why you can and why you're happy to do so, because the upside they give you when they do work is usually quite high.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Here's the Dominant Trapper now for Robert. He's facing down a Relic Runner. And an Opt now for Matt. Perhaps digging for lands here.
Oh, he didn't find one.
Oh, no. Can Robert Brown capitalize here? Ooh, Juggernaut the next turn. And that's going to trigger Historic as well.
Yeah, it looks like he can. What is happening to this feature match? No one plays a third land.
No kidding. Although it looks like Matt just found Plains off the top, exactly what he wanted to see.
So what does he have here? He's looking for something like Invoke the Divine. That would be perfect. Or, Seal Away, even Gideon's Reproach. Though Gideon's Reproach is kind of dangerous against Robert Brown's deck.
Yeah,
there are a lot
those
of
run
run-amoks
amoks and stuff, yeah, for sure. A Relic Runner, and there's also a Bodyguard. So the Dauntless Bodyguard is going to target the Relic Runner, and it looks like he's going to try to do some type of shenanigans here. Gives him a little bit of security.
Yeah, it does make it a safe double block. Because even if your opponent kills one of the creatures, then you just make the other one indestructible, and it's only a 1-for-1, but it won't kill the Juggernaut. Realistically speaking, I believe he has to throw 2 creatures in front of the Juggernaut here. I don't know what's in his hand. It's possible he could wait, but especially with the Pegasus making the Juggernaut fly over the following turn.
Yeah, he'd really...
But it's really tough. We know he has 2 Fervent Strikes, 2 Run Amoks. Any of those, it's not great, but you still only lose 1 of your creatures, so I think I would have just gone for it.
Is there a reason why Robert played the Pegasus first?
I don't know.
I mean, that is very valuable information for Matt, right? Like, helping him make that decision. Maybe Robert wanted him to. Like, that would make Matt more likely to block.
Yes,
right?
I believe it would.
I mean, theoretically at least. Maybe that's what Robert wants. Maybe he has a card in his hand and he says, if I play this thing first, it really says, Matt, you better block this now because next turn you're not even going to have the option to.
But how are you punished by blocking? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, the worst that can happen is that it's a 1-for-1.
Right.
And, if it's Run Amok, okay, you take a bunch of damage, but you will take this damage anyway.
Yes, that
and
is
now
that
you'll
is going
take
to
it
happen.
for sure.
Yeah.
And if it's Fervent Strike, which it was, then you're not taking any damage, and you're trading your opponent's Fervent Strike for your Dauntless Bodyguard.
Yeah.
So I think there really should have been a double block by Matt Stinky.
Yeah, I mean, he had all the signs pointing for him to do that. Now, an interesting one here for Robert. He found a Dauntless Bodyguard of his own. Oh, boy, and he has a Keldon Overseer as well. So is the Bodyguard, where's the Bodyguard going to go? He can put it on the Overseer to force a trade. He can put it on, I don't know, Juggernaut or something. Let's see what he does. Did he point at the Trapper?
Yeah, he pointed at the Trapper.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that the way Matt Stinky played, he left himself no outs.
He just can't win now?
It seems highly unlikely that he will. He
Yeah.
has to deal with the Pegasus for starters.
Uh-huh. And he doesn't have a way to do that currently.
Yeah, I don't believe he does.
Robert, by the way, still has that Fervent Strike mana available as well. So things looking good for Robert Brown. I want to remind you that Robert is not 13-1. He's 12-2. So this is a match that he needs to win to make it into the top 8. Matt actually doesn't. He's going to be in even with a loss. And there it is, Fervent Strike.
Yeah, I would probably have rather see the Pegasus flying the Juggernaut over.
Mm-hmm. Not even let him.
Yeah, you just deal 2 more damage, and, there's no reason to do it. And the Overseer would trade with a 2-1 instead of with a 3-1, and I think you're fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt, though, taking a little bit more passive line. Not going for that block. Ooh, here's a way he might be able to come back. On Sarah's Wings.
Yeah, it definitely is, and that creature can get indestructible for a turn. So, but if Robert finds a historic spell, then Matt is in trouble.
Then he's really in trouble.
There are not many in his deck. It's not like it's full of historic cards, but...
And even then, Matt is not in a beautiful position here. On Sarah's Wings is only making that Relic Runner into a 3-2. It could still get traded off in another turn or two, even after the Bodyguard does its thing.
Yeah, I imagine it's going to kill the Juggernaut, and then the Bodyguard is going to jump in front of one of the 3-2s and sacrifice itself.
Yes.
So Matt has the choice of which creature he wants to kill and which one he wants to block, basically. The Juggernaut has to attack again, so if he has some sort of trick, it will be interesting to force the Juggernaut to attack into the Lifelinker, but it doesn't look like he does. So I think these are just the blocks he has to make. And he's actually in a fine position now, assuming Robert has nothing.
Right. Oh.
What?
Stanky did not use the Bodyguard. He just allowed that all to happen.
That is... I don't understand. Okay, he must have forgotten. Or... he thought he'd target the other Relic Runner, but
maybe he did. Maybe we missed that it was actually a different Relic Runner, and that's
but why would he block with the Relic Runner that had that ability before?
No, I know. I'm.
I mean, something in here doesn't make sense, right?
No.
Either he forgot he had done it, or he somehow blocked with the one that could be saved but didn't save it, when he could have easily blocked with the other one. So he has to have made a mistake in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Wow. Another opening the door once again for Robert Brown. He's trying to get into this top 8. And Matt Stanky is perhaps allowing him that.
Yeah, and if you're going to make this type of mistake, which, it was a mistake, this is the best moment to make it.
This is a good time.
You're already locked for top 8, and so we'll give Matt that. He's playing very... relaxed, he is under no pressure, and he really doesn't... obviously he cares because he's playing, but he really can't afford to lose here.
By the way, Raf Capuchin came in and ate that Pegasus Courser a little bit ago, and now we're down to just Baird on the battlefield. No gas left in the tank for Robert. He's got a land in his hand. And Matt still is stuck on lands. He's on 4, and he's down to 1 life.
It has so many cards.
He can't do anything. He just bricked again. He's going to show him 6 or 7 spells, and the game's just going to end.
He drew a 5-drop.
There it is.
Oh, wow.
The game is over. He needed another white mana for Baird, and he had a bunch of 5-drops. Nothing else to do. So... inexplicably, Robert Brown does end up winning, and he's going to be in the top 8. In fact, he may be able to have a chance to play against Stanky again. So,
okay,
who knows? Wow, this is getting wild here down the stretch. But we are starting to fill out our top 8 seats as we go through MTG Red Zone. Remember, we're in round number 15. This is the last round of Swiss and the 3rd round of our last draft here in the Swiss portion. So we're getting pretty close, and we'll be having a top 8 announcement here before too long. And, of course, for those of you draft fans out there, you have a lot more to look forward to. We're going to do another draft, bring you multiples of it, and we're going to bring you the top 8 in its entirety as well. More Time Walk? More Time Walk. All right, we've got even more. So why don't we line that up right now and see when we're going to jump in. Looks like it's going to be game number 1 of Brian Hones versus Daniel Garcia Rosas.
Oh, I'm so happy we weren't thrown into that bar state that we saw briefly.
The little flash.
With 100 creatures on each side. Yeah.
Yes, let's work our way into this one. Howling Golem for Daniel. Looks like the first play of the game for him. Corrosive Ooze, the underperformer of the century on the other side. Followed up by a Thallid Omnivore.
Yeah, are you saying the Corrosive Ooze is the underperformer or the Howling Golem is the underperformer?
I was talking about the Ooze.
Oh, okay.
As I haven't really seen Howling Golem that much. I did play it once, Paulo.
Oh, I don't think it's an embarrassment to
Well,
play
the
it.
embarrassing part wasn't that I played it, it's that I decked myself with it.
That is embarrassing.
It was extremely embarrassing.
Yeah, no,
But
you're
being
right.
a consummate professional, I was also recording a video, and I did put it up on the internet.
Well, at least.
I figured if I'm going to be that dumb, other people got to get value out of it too. Fungal infection in combat here to shrink down the Omnivore, it looks like.
I love Fungal Infection. So many applications.
Yeah, here's yet another one. And that means that the Golem gets to live, where the Deathboom Thalum does not. Oh, but look at this. Brian has the follow-up play. He's going to play Soul Salvage.
Yeah, and this is where the Golem shines. Because Brian has a lot of cards in hand already. And so it's unlikely he'll be able to play 100 things. So, like, you're not constraining him on cards, you're constraining him on time, in which spot you'd rather give both players a card. So I don't think the Golem is that bad. Though if you deck yourself, it's pretty bad.
It gets
So
a little worse when
know.
you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know the worst part? I didn't realize it.
And you just attacked and died?
No, my opponent passed a turn back, and I thought they scooped.
Oh.
But then I was like, wait, did that say that they won? And I looked at the chat log, and it says, Marshall R. tried to draw a card from an empty library. And I'm like, did I seriously? It turns out I had played Windgrace Acolyte. I had also played Demon Lord Belzenlock and like gone through a few cards and just was full on not paying attention.
Okay, so it's not the most embarrassing. I thought you
it's
just
pretty
attacked
bad.
with it and died.
No,
when
I didn't
the
do
trigger
that.
went in the sack and you died immediately.
No,
Okay.
but I had attacked with it a couple of turns prior when I don't know if I needed to, and if I would have looked at my library, maybe I could have done something else. But yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, that's Primordial Worm.
The big 7/6.
Yep.
Well, it is dwarfing everything else on the battlefield, at least for now.
By a lot.
Yeah.
As it usually does.
Blood
Yeah.
Tallow Candle now for Daniel Garcia Rosas.
Yeah, never mind.
Okay. He is going to just get in.
I do like this card drawing things. You know, it means everyone plays lands. We have nice games.
Yeah, why don't we just draw 2 cards per turn for the rest of Magic? Looks like Daniel's going to try to leverage the Blood Tallow Candle to shrink down.
Yeah, he has
Primordial
to,
Worm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he doesn't have to, but it would be a foolish attack if he wasn't planning on doing that.
Definitely.
Because you definitely don't want to trade 2 of your creatures for 3 damage. You know, if you think you have a better play on 6, then you still make that play. You don't, you know, regardless of how embarrassing it is. But it's very unlikely that he has a better play in this spot than just killing the worm.
You know, not the cleanest tapping I've ever seen, but I guess we've got them all roughly sideways. Pass it turn back to Brian. These players, as you can see by their records, wow, look at this, another Primordial Worm.
Yep, and now there is mana to do something. So even if Daniel tries to get tricky with a Pump Spell, he might just catch a Vicious Offering or a Fungal Infection. Though he would need more than a pump spell.
Wow, the hits keep coming here for Daniel. He's got Cabal Paladin now.
Yeah, and that's another card that makes the Howling Golem good because, if both players are drawing cards, but you have one that they take 2 every time you play one of your spells, then that's pretty good for you.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not saying that card's great, but it has upsides.
Of course, the downside of the Cabal Paladin is it trades for cards as bad as Corrosive Ooze.
It does do that.
Yeah. But if Daniel can sit back behind it and just start chaining together historic cards, Brian's at 10.
Yeah, we already know he has a Mishra Self-Replicator, so
Ooh.
that probably means he has a lot of historic in his deck to begin with, because that card is not good if you can consistently trigger it. If you can trigger it a couple times in a game, then it's very good. Oh, there's our
boy, the machine.
The power couple.
Indeed. Valid Omnivore and Slimefoot, the stowaway. That is a machine that can get going. There's a replicator, so there's a trigger. Now, it is worth noting here that the Cabal Paladin triggers when you cast a historic spell rather than when it enters the battlefield.
Yeah, unfortunately, you won't get more triggers for your replicas.
Can't just go off. But Mishra Self-Replicator can get out of hand if Daniel can chain together some historic spells. It's just a 2/2, but it says whenever you cast a historic spell, you may pay 1. If you do, you create a token copy of Mishra Self-Replicator, but then now you have 2 of them, and you can start kind of going off if you have enough mana.
Yeah, it definitely works. It goes infinite at some point, but you need a lot of historic spells.
Yeah.
Not literally infinite, but plenty.
But enough.
Yeah, at some point, all your cards become, historic cards become Kicker Axe, Make Axe 2/2s.
Yeah.
And he has Arvad in hand already that we've seen, so he has at least one way of triggering it. Though, yeah, that Cabal Paladin is not really a route to victory anymore, because the Slime Food plus the Omnivore, that is just going to be a lot of life for Brian.
Yeah, gain 3 life per, drain you for 1, or hit you for 1 as well.
Yeah, so Daniel is really looking for a removal spell here. I don't think he's really going to win this on the board. He could try to kill the Talid Omnivore. This will be 7. So
yeah,
he won't kill it, but he will force Brian to either sack the Worm or the Slimefoot. Because he only has mana to make 1 token if he wants to sack 3 things. So the Corrosive Woods will be sacrificed, and the token will be sacrificed. But then one of the big cards will have to be sacrificed. But at the same time, if you're Brian, I don't know how much you care. I would probably lean towards sacrificing the Worm in this spot, really. I think the Slimefoot is better than the Worm.
Yeah, it's crazy. Especially if you're running out of gas in hand, sitting in Brian's seat, if you don't have any more expensive spells.
Yeah, or you could just let it die.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll get to kill the Paladin and, Right, if you sack 1, you get to kill something else.
Oh, but there's Adamant Will now for Daniel. It's going to give his creature +2/+2 and indestructible until end of turn.
And I will definitely die.
So you just say, okay, you got me. Valid Omnivore hits the bin, leaving Brian at 9 life and leaving Daniel with Cabal Paladin still. So that is now back to being a win condition. It's a ways off.
Yeah, and you kind of have to wonder if that attack was good with the Omnivore.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if there had been no Adamant Will, you don't want to trade the Omnivore for 2 creatures.
Yeah.
Which is what would have happened. Like, if the game continues, yes, there is the Replicator in your opponent's board, so they will get a bunch of 2/2s, but I still think that favors you. And once you've made 2 tokens at the end of this turn, then the attacks are basically free.
Yep.
So maybe waiting a turn there would have been prudent.
Yeah, that is kind of one of the downsides to the Mishra Self-Replicator is that ultimately you're making a lot of tutus. And sometimes you have to make a serious amount of tutus to actually get anything through on the ground. Although, it looks like Brian says that is the way that I lose if I lose this game. I'm going to go ahead and eviscerate your Mishra Self-Replicator before it gets out of hand. You know, there wasn't a single copy of it, so that was the time to do it if he was going to do it.
Yeah, and then the attack kind of worked out because it drew the will.
Yeah, Adamant Will.
The Adamant Will, which would have saved the Cabal Paladin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I guess it will be back in.
Yeah, the Paladin lived, but the Replicator is what he targeted. Here is the Eldest Reborn.
Wow.
He sacked the Worm.
Well, he has to block.
He's at 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. Doesn't want to lose the Slime Dog.
The Slime Dog.
I mean, can't he just block with Slimefoot?
He could, but then he's dead to a historic spell. If he
That's
takes
true.
6 damage, it goes to 1.
It's true. Wow, but that Primordial Worm, very punishing.
Yeah, that was not a good sequence for Brian. Didn't turn out well.
But he is not convinced that Daniel has anything to do, so he's going to go ahead and block, thinking, look, I'm at 7. If you play Historic Spell, I could be down to 5. If I take 2 from this, I could be at 3. And there's a Historic Spell, so he is down to 5. Probably
even
a smart
then
block.
taps the Golem.
Oh, yeah, combo assembled. Wow, yeah, that really did not work well for Brian. The 2 turns.
Oh yeah, it was looking
really
so good for him.
It really was. Then he made that attack, and that didn't work out.
And then everything died.
And then everything's dead except for Corrosive Ooze and his Slimefoot.
Yeah, the Corrosive Ooze is, hasn't attacked or blocked in a very long time. It's been there since turn 2.
Oh, it's Brick City.
And there's so many cards too because of that Howling Golem that's being attacked since the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Another worm?
Sort of.
Basically, yeah.
Untamed Kavu. It's a nice addition to the board. He plays the land out of his hand. He's going to have to discard a card here. Hopefully he kept something. Yeah, it looks like he just didn't value the Elfhem Druid much, so he's just going to discard that and have a land on the battlefield.
Yeah, lands are good to make 1/1s, and if he played the Elf this turn, he wouldn't be able to make a Saproling. And he probably believes the Saproling is better than the Elf, which I assume is true.
Mm-hmm.
So if he plays Arvad, then Brian will go to 3 life.
Yeah, I wonder if there is a game plan here for Daniel Garcia Rosas where he can just try to win the game basically with the Cabal Paladin at this point.
I think he can. I mean,
He's got 2 triggers in hand. Right? He has a short sword.
Oh, he has that too?
And
yeah.
an Arvad.
Yeah, that is 2 triggers. And, I mean, he will get something big from the Eldest Reborn the following turn. So he doesn't even have to panic and attack here. He can just wait. I don't know what he's going to get. Maybe the Mishra Self-Replicator, or maybe just a Worm. I think the Replicator is probably better if he has a lot of Historic left in his deck. I don't know how much he actually has. He's played a lot of it so far.
Yeah.
So he might not have a lot left. And yeah, obviously he would rather have gotten that Sarah Angel, but that was Saddle Discord. So one of the few times where the Exile ability is actually relevant.
I think she was relevant here. So I think Daniel does have that short sword, and he could just be 1 additional Historic card away from finishing this thing off. Brian doesn't have a sacrifice outlet anymore. He can make some Saprolings to help him stabilize the board, but he also needs them to die if he wants those triggers. And that's something that Daniel can kind of opt into.
Yeah, he even gets to kill one sapling before it matters, because 3 and 4 life is kind of the same.
Looks like Arvod's going to jump in front of the Kavu here. Daniel's going to net a life out of the deal as well, and that's going to be a trade thanks to Death Touch.
So Brian can go up to 5 creatures. Yeah, I mean, Daniel still doesn't have lethal.
Ooh, hello, friend. Urborg, who's hungry? Yargle has arrived, though.
Yeah,
I gotta say, he doesn't look great here, does he?
No.
Daniel wants a Yargle.
It's interesting to get a replicator because, that is only good if the Cabal Paladin dies. Because if it doesn't die, then you're getting 2 triggers will win the game.
Right.
So you're getting at most 1 copy of the replicator. But if the Cabal Paladin does die and there's a lot of Historic left in his deck, then that could be an avenue to victory.
I guess I don't understand, though, because one player casts Yargle, and I don't think he's going to win the game, and that just doesn't really compute for me.
It is very unusual.
Yeah. Huh.
They can attack next turn, though.
Sure.
For 9.
That's half of Daniel's life total. So, Brian Hones finds himself at 1 life, facing a much bigger board state. Daniel, really, any historic spell will do it. He may also be able to just win through combat.
Yeah, drawing a card here really benefits Daniel, because if he finds a historic spell, he wins the game on the spot. But he will end up killing some Saprolings.
Oh, look at this. Brian's just going for it. He's going to get the sword and the golem.
After 15 rounds of Swiss, your top 8 for GP.
So we're going to go ahead and mute ourselves here for just a moment for the top 8 announcement. All right, we are back. Sorry about that. We did pause the stream momentarily just so we didn't miss anything here. That was a pretty quick little announcement. We'll bring you that top 8 announcement once we're kind of done with the rounds for round number 15 to try to avoid spoilers, as best possible.
So I assume Brian is at 2 because Saproling died, unless he just missed a trigger.
Would be unfortunate. Oh, and look at this. Krosan Druid now for Hones means that the Cabal Paladin plan is out.
Yeah, and now the Mishra's Self-Replicator plan is back on.
Definitely. So, once again, Daniel still wants to just find historic spells. That's what he was looking for before, but it kind of is the same plan. It's just a little bit longer version of
it. It is. Now he has to find 5 of them, or 6 rather. He could also do with just finding a removal spell. If he kills that Slimefoot, then he wins the game, I think.
I think you're right.
So Brian's looking at his graveyard.
Yeah, that can't be good. Soul Salvage, maybe?
Maybe. Fungal Plots.
Yeah.
Oh, Mending of Dominaria?
Oh, don't say that.
Yep.
It is Mending of Dominaria. Oh, baby. This is going to be a lot of value for Brian. I wonder if somebody's going to get decked here, actually.
Well, if it is, that's going to be Daniel, because the mending of Dominaria shuffles the...
Oh, it finishes by shuffling.
Yeah.
But, you know, I got to say that that golem did trigger a lot of times.
It did, yeah. So, see, Marshall, you're not going to be the only person decking themselves with the golem.
I'm going to stop myself from rooting for that to happen just so I don't feel alone anymore. Oh, boy, and the engine's back. Although that looked like something to kill the mending.
Yeah, it's Invoke the Divine.
Okay.
Well, now there's the Memorial to Fallout. That can bring back a historic spell.
Yes.
And that, you know, that would be 2 more replicators. And then the next one would be 4 replicators. I can't imagine there are that many left in Daniel's deck. Like, how many historic spells can you have?
No kidding. I'm going to find it. All right, I found it. Let's see now. He's got Arvad the Curse, we saw that. 2 Blood Tallow Candle, a Howling Golem, a Self-Replicator, Short Sword, a Skittering Surveyor, and a Voltaic Servant. He's got 2 Eldest Reborn.
Okay, so he still has a decent amount.
And 1 Danitha Capuchin Paragon. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
And he has worked through a good chunk of that library.
Yeah, I wonder how many cards are in each player's libraries. He could even have let the mending of Dominaria trigger another time to mill 2 more, if he thought that was his avenue to win the game.
By the way,
he got that back to Howling Golem instead of getting like Arvad. So,
wow.
He really wants to just draw more historic spells.
Yes.
Like, we might see him just...
Somebody might get milled here. Like,
yeah, he might just jump attack with that golem in the following turn. Just trying to draw a historic spell.
By the way, PV, remember a little while ago when I said that the player playing Yargle was going to lose? Yargle may have heard me.
Yeah.
Here's Torvar. Going to knock Daniel down to 10 and even things up.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel is taking, I believe, 2 a turn?
To the combo?
Soon to be 3 a turn to the combo. So that's not a lot of turns.
Oh, but let's get rid of those last 2 cards, says Caligo's Skin Witch. Now, Brian has what he needs on the battlefield, but let's see what he's hanging on to. Looks like a little uncomfortable about discarding these. Well, he's got an additional mana to still make a Saproling, so he's going to make another Saproling using Fungal Infection. Oh, and look at this plan. Wild Onslaught was what he was going to build up towards.
Yeah, so now he can't make a Saproling this turn, but I think he's fine with that.
Throw away these cards. The 10-4 Yargle.
Yeah, so I don't believe there are good attacks for Daniel here.
It's hard to believe that there would be at this point.
Okay.
Ooh, double Cabal Paladin, Paulo. Now, this is the weirdest race I've seen. We have the Saproling factory on the left, and on the other side, we've got a player attempting to do as many historic triggers as possible.
Yeah, and throughout all of this, someone could just get decked.
That's right. Looks like they're about maybe 3/4 of the way through their libraries. No. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's a lot.
Looks
still.
like 9 cards. Hey, there's still a Howling Golem for an additional.
Yeah, I believe there are 8 in Daniels. That seems weird. Because Brian milled too. I don't believe Daniel ever milled, so I must have miscounted.
Wow, this is a real game here.
Oh, it most definitely is. Yeah, people are asking, what are those strips of paper? They are Mishra's self-replicator tokens. Oh, wow, another Howling Golem.
Oh, no, the Howling Golem mirror. Yeah, those are indicating that those tokens are actually copies of Mr. Self-Replicator.
Marshall, is that a flyer that I see? I believe it is.
What is it?
It is your favorite.
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah.
I guess he is a historic deck. This is where it belongs.
Sarah's Disciple.
Sarah Disciple.
And maybe a Sarah Angel, too.
I like that one a little better.
Are there 2 Sarah Angels? Oh, they're both Sarah flyers. They're equivalent.
Yeah, same difference, right? Yargle jumps in front of the Howling Golem. There's Sarah Angel. There's her little pet. There's 2 Saprolings on the other side. How in the world is this thing going to end? This game.
Yeah, it is intense. So Brian actually gains enough life. How many lands does he have? He has 11. So he can gain 6 a turn.
Well, it's going to be very difficult
while dealing
for Daniel.
2.
He's attacking with Torgor.
You know, I like that attack. It's kind of a free attack, because your opponent is not going to block with 100 things, like with all his Mr. Self-Replicators.
Just loses too much board state.
Yeah, and the replicators are, you want that in place so that they can copy themselves when you next cast a historic card.
That's right.
So each one that you lose, you're losing potentially 2 or 4 in the future. So I think it's an attack that not many people would have made, because it just looks like you can't attack on a board like that. And normally those super crowded boards favor the defender by a lot because they just choose what they block with. But not the case here.
Oh boy, those libraries are starting to get a little thin there, Paulo.
Yeah, they are.
But even with that entire board state, there's no flyers or reach creatures for Brian Holmes. So he's going to have to rely on Ancient Animus to kill Sarah Angel and mean he's going to take a grand total of 1.
Yep. And 2 more Saprolings for him.
Yep.
And he only needs 10. He already has 5.
That's right.
So if he draws a land, that's 2 more turns.
Is Yargle going to will Brian Holmes to victory here?
It looks like he just might.
This is just unreal.
Because not even, even if Daniel plays a historic spell. Ooh, there it is, the Yargle.
Getting in the red zone. Yargle, don't die before this game ends. Yargle, no, you only have 4 toughness.
Yeah, Yargle will probably die, I'm sorry to say. But I think Brian's going to win. Yargle is going to sacrifice itself for the greater good. Oh, no, it won't.
Yargle is going to step on a knight instead of dying. And now we have an interesting fight here. The players are watching their Thallid Omnivores go at it and both sacking a bunch of stuff.
Well, it's really unfair because Brian is gaining
really
3 life
unfair.
and dealing 1 damage for each creature he sacks.
That's right.
And then it was just sacking things and throwing it in the graveyard.
That's right. Also, Brian's Omnivore was 1 bigger at all times.
Yeah, it's
So when the dust settles there, he's good to go. And another Croson Druid puts him up to 22 life.
yeah, just what we needed. More life.
Is Daniel seriously going to get decked here?
Oh, I think he's going to die before he gets decked.
He's going to die to
He
life
is stepping
loss.
a lot of lands, so it's him as a historic spell. Not the best, but
Skittering Surveyor.
it does. It is almost a kick Joseph ass. It brings a lot of tutus
It
with
is
it.
very similar.
But yeah,
They're working that
realistically-
label machine pretty hard over there.
Realistically speaking, I think Daniel is dead in 2 turns.
I don't think he's only got 4 cards left in his library anyway. Though that might be true for Brian as well. Wow, this is a heck of a board state, by the way. We've been kind of with this one from the beginning, but for those of you just popping in, welcome to coverage of GP Dallas. Nothing much going on here.
Yeah, no big deal.
I kind of like this. This is 2 of the sort of core tenets of the set, historic versus thalids / fungi.
Nil dual decks.
That's right. That's right. That's very good. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Saplings versus historic.
Fungus versus the history.
Mm-hmm. And so far, fungus is going to beat history.
Yeah, it is. It really is. This is game 1.
Yeah, that was what I was just thinking of as well. And also important to keep in mind, this is a top 8 qualification match for these players. So they've got it all on the line. One player is going to have to say, I went 12-2 going into the last round, and I didn't get there. I couldn't draw, and I lost, and I didn't make top 8. And the other one is going to say, you got to go on Twitch and watch this game that I played on my way to the top 8. Because this is incredible. This is just a ridiculous game.
Yeah, and this is the turn, I believe, where Daniel just has to attack with everything.
He just has to send him in.
Well, I guess he could wait another turn. But in 2 turns, he's dead.
Ugh.
There are 3 saplings.
Is that a 9 or... It's a 6, but on the self-replicator?
Oh, I believe it's...
Is it meant to be a 9, but it's an upside-down 6?
Well, he's making 5 tokens, so is it a 4? I don't know.
Well, now it just turned into an 11 somehow.
I'll just believe whatever they tell me with this board.
Yeah, seriously.
So that's 3 tokens, right?
1. Make a sap. 2. 3.
Okay, so the Slimefoot is dying.
Oh, that's what's happening. The blood tallow candle's killing Slimefoot. So Brian... Is this real?
Apparently.
Wow.
So who got stacked? I don't even know.
That's the question now, because now it feels like with Brian Hone's life total really high, the Paladin plan's off the table.
You know, they could both get stacked with Howling Golem. Then would still be in game 1.
Oh my god.
Wouldn't that be glorious, Marshall?
What would happen? Would they just have to replay the game again?
Yeah. It's like Earthquake killing both players. No one wins.
Oh my god. This is insane. It kind of feels like both have exhausted their way to win passively, right? Like, the combat doesn't seem to be great for either, though. Maybe Brian actually has attacks. I don't know. There's actually 11 self-replicators. There's no way he has attacks.
But it's not getting better for him for Itch.
That is true.
You know, he is at 18.
3 cards left for Daniel.
And, you know, 3 of his creatures are lethal, so they have to be blocked. And the Golem will just trade with 1 creature, so... Oh, too bad.
Golem down.
So the Golems just block everything.
Right. He just trades in a ton of golems. An Eviscerate to kill the Cabal Paladin, of all things. Well, looks like he still actually maybe has 3 cards after that.
Yeah, there's Eldest Reborn.
Okay.
So that's another... How many can he make? Can he make 8?
He's counting. 5. What did they were? 5, 6, 7 of them.
Can make 7.
That's the full amount. No, that's not. You're right. He could have made 8. So he's going to make almost all of them. He does get a trigger off the Paladin and knock Brian down to 16. But as we mentioned before, it is a cast trigger, so it's not a super combo with the Paladin.
Yeah, you know, this game is so complicated. I think if you put all this information into a supercomputer, it would probably be able to come up with, you know, oh, this person wins with this attack. But I don't think, obviously I can't do it.
Yeah, if you can't, they're not going to. Certainly not.
So I think what Brian is doing makes sense. You know, Brian is attacking with his big creatures. But, you know, that Yargo could have died
like
many turns
5
ago.
times.
It's already killed so many self-replicators.
Why has it not died?
Well, at the same time...
Like, don't you just say double block the Yargo?
You could, but at the same time, that is, you know, each self-replicator that you lose it's last self-replicators in the future.
Sure.
He could have just blocked with the Paladin and abandoned all pretense of, actually killing Brian.
Right.
And
through
maybe
damage.
decking Brian if it turns out that Brian has.
I'm surprised they're not picking up each other's libraries more often here, but.
Well, they probably already know.
Yeah, maybe they just remembered. There's Daneth the Capuchin, which is another historic spell. Triggering the self-replicator. 20 of them. A cool 20 self-replicators.
Yeah, only 7 have to get through. So there are 23 creatures. And there are 10 on Brian's board. So that means 13 are getting through. That's more than enough.
Is Daniel going to steal Slimefoot?
Oh, I suppose he could.
And maybe just put together a lethal attack? I mean,
I think if Daniel just attacks with everything here, he wins. Because, Brian is empty-handed. Oh, no, he's still getting 2 life for each Sepperling.
Oh,
he still has the Omnivore in play.
Daniel may just be waiting until the last possible turn to build up as much of a board with the replicators and now with Slimefoot creating tokens and making combat just impossible for Brian.
Yeah, so Brian's
He's
at
got
14.
23 creatures.
Which is effectively 24 life. Because he can gain 10 through the Sepperlings.
That's right. He's got 12 creatures to block.
And there are
23.
23 from Daniel? I think it's 22.
That's exiled. You're right.
Yeah,
22.
there are 22. So 10 will get through.
Or
so
actually, he does actually have 23 because of the Slimefoot now.
Oh, his Slimefoot can't attack this turn.
No, not this turn. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking he's trying to set it up for the last possible turn.
Well, he could try this turn, but I don't think that works.
Yeah, because if he waits a turn, he can make at least 2
there's 6 Sepperlings.
saps.
Yeah. So there are 6 Sepperlings. That will be 12 life, 26. Well, he attacked?
Yeah, and it looks like they had figured out that was enough. Because Brian snap scooped when he attacked.
I don't believe it was. He had 22 attackers.
Yes.
And Brian had 12 blockers?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
So that's 20 damage. And he was at 26 life, effectively. Well, that was... Maybe Brian would get decked. I don't know. I don't think he had lethal. Maybe I was missing something. It didn't feel like it.
But they were clearly talking. He might have said, so I have 22 and you're at this, and if I attack you with all of these, then it's good.
But he was at 26, effectively. He had to get through 13 creatures. I don't believe he was able to.
So he can block with a bunch of things and then start sacking them?
Yeah, each Sepperling that you sack, you gain 2 life.
Yeah.
There was an Omnivore in play, right? With a counter on it?
I think it was.
So I'm not sure.
We're actually out of time here as far as bringing you the end of this match. I know that's disappointing. I can tell you that he is actually able to finish. Brian wins that one, 2-0.
Oh, 2 games? They finished another game?
Yeah, they somehow managed to finish another game, and that put them into the top 8 and started to wrap things up here. I don't think we have any more to bring you, as I think we're starting to line up for our next one, but I would love to read the top 8 announcement for you, but I don't have it yet, although I'm sure it'll be brought over to me shortly here, and then I can read. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Rich. All right, so let's read this one off and see who made it into our top 8. First things first, Aaron Rubin. Aaron has been ripping it up all tournament here. He came in on 39 points, and he is in your first seed. Matt Stanky.
Okay. So losing, he lost to Matt. Oh, no, it was Matt Stanky that lost a match that didn't matter, right?
That's right. And so he
ended up in second instead of first.
Exactly.
That's basically it.
William Hahn on 37. That's the lone 37-pointer. You can take a look at it here. Vikram Kudva, another top 8 for him. Congratulations, Vikram. Will Craddock, we saw him winning in. Matt Nass is in on 36 points. Huh. Nice. Robert Brown. And then Brian Holmes.
I believe that is not what we have on the screen.
Yeah, this doesn't seem right to me. Oh, you know what this is? This is
last
round 14.
All right.
Rubin. So Aaron Rubin. Yeah, Matt Stanky. This is not, though.
Poor Matt Nass.
I didn't think so. I'm like,
almost made it.
Like, he lost, right? When we were watching, like, he didn't have a chance to lose and get in. Anyway, let's take a look, though. Aaron Rubin, Matt Stanky, Vikram Kudva, did hang on to win. Will Craddock, who we saw get in, Robert Brown, who I mentioned. But the other ones were Andrew Ellenbogen, Jose Daniel Garcias Rosas, who we saw, and William Hahn did make it as well. Another solid finish for Seth Manfield and Matt Nass, both making the top 16, but unfortunately not the top 8 for them. We do apologize for that, by the way, but thankfully, at least it was right on the screen. All right, we've got a short commercial break. When we come back, though, we're going to be watching live draft from the top 8. Don't go anywhere.